The Fed15 podcast is presented by Serving Those Who Serve, a fiduciary, fee-based financial planning firm serving federal government employees and retirees all over the country. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. The opinions expressed by our hosts are their own and do not reflect the views, policies, or position of either Raymond James or Serving Those Who Serve.
Welcome, everybody, to the Fed15 podcast. We're happy to be back with you. Presented by Serving Those Who Serve. Each week, we're to discuss the latest news and info the Feds need to know in 15 minutes-ish or less. So whether you're a seasoned Fed or just starting in your career, we've got you covered. So grab your coffee, energy drink, green juice, kick back, unless you're driving, and we'll tell you what you need to know but might have missed. I am your host, Dan Sipe, and I am joined by the inimitable Katelyn Murray.
Hello, hello. Yes, we are back with another episode for you this week, advancing into Halloween, the month of spooky things. The spookiest thing to come across our desk lately is probably that long-term care insurance premium increase.
Yeah. Not feeling love on that one. Yeah, I think I'm getting a definite vampire vibe.
Yeah.
out of that. See, that's something that's always kind of thrown me a curve, Katelyn. Maybe you can guide me on this.
Yes.
So vampires can either make you a vampire or they can kill you.
Yes.
Is there a setting on the teeth? You know, I mean, you know, like,
so do you want an answer? Because I have one for you. You know that you're asking the right person.
I have puzzled and puzzed over this.
So typically in most vampire lore, the difference in just killing you or turning you actually into a vampire involves you actually drinking the blood of the vampire. So they would have to bite you. And then if you ingest their blood, enough of it, then you would turn into a vampire yourself. If they don't give you their blood, you just die.
Interesting. Now,
their blood.
Seeing that seminal vampire movie, Love at First Bite, featuring George Hamilton, it was 3 bites.
Mm-hmm.
You know, have you seen that movie, Katelyn?
I have seen it a long time ago.
Oh, my goodness. When he wakes up in the coffin drunk. Right?
Yeah. It's pretty good, actually. I should rewatch that. It's been a long time.
It holds up. It holds up. And even his mannerisms, he really did a great job studying Bela Lugosi. You know, right down to, no, I beat your mother and your grandmother. And it's like, nice work, George. You are not just a pretty face. I don't care what they say.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, lots of spooky movie watching going on this season. Actually, tonight, the night that we're recording this, so we're recording this on Friday the 13th. Very spooky. Ooh. And my theater is actually screening Friday the 13th tonight. It's a free screening for the community. So should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to watching that classic. It will be part 3, which is the one where Jason gets his mask. His iconic
I have never seen a Friday the 13th.
Oh, you gotta watch it.
Well, no. Here's my Achilles heel, Katelyn.
Yeah.
If it's something that could happen, I don't want to watch it. Like, okay, Team Edward, Team Jacob, I know I'm going to hear from you on this. I don't believe there are actual vampires, and I don't believe there are actual werewolves. So I will watch those till the cows come home. But, you know, I know Jason's kind of a super indestructible thing, but it could also just be an overly large wacko out in the woods that kills people. And that seems plausible to me, so I can't watch this.
Yes. No, I could see that. Like The Strangers, that was people's thing with The Strangers, since that's like a home invasion type thing that could potentially actually happen. It does happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, not to that level of cinematic, you know, extravagance, but those sorts of movies are a little less fun, I think. But you'd probably be fine with Friday the 13th because Jason is kind of this like immortal creature who lives like in a lake and then comes out and wages. They're ridiculous. The movies are increasingly ridiculous as they go. My favorite is Jason X, which is Jason in space.
You mean unlike the fully plausible Fast and the Furious franchise.
It's like that. It is the Fast and the Furious of horror. Like those movies get more and more ridiculous. We have like Jason Takes Manhattan, which,
Nice.
By the way, I did watch this one time because I used to have I'm pretty big into horror. I screened Jason Takes Manhattan one time, and screen time he's in Manhattan for like 12 minutes and 36 seconds of the movie called Jason Takes Manhattan. Rest of the movie takes place on a boat.
Got it.
So, but Jason X, Jason in Space, super ridiculous.
Gotcha. Hey, I hate to do this, but our friends are probably looking for something that
They probably want some bad news. Hey, people love our intros. We never know what you're gonna get.
I hope
you
so.
Get Star Wars. Sometimes you get Jason.
Yep.
All right. Well, we can kind of charge in here we've got 2 stories to cover for you actually this week, both actually looking at different kind of aspects of health insurance. Dan is going to talk to us a little bit about FEHB premium increases.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Katelyn. Give me the fun stuff. Appreciate it.
Yeah. But before that, I am going to talk a little bit about one of my favorite topics ever in financial planning, which is health savings accounts.
Oh, I know that's a thing for you. Yep.
It is. I love HSAs. If you are one of our clients and you're listening to this, you may have heard me reference HSAs as a bit of a unicorn in financial planning. That is because there is a triple tax benefit with HSAs that doesn't exist with any other type of account. Now, I want to kind of call out, a lot of times folks will get HSAs confused with FSAs, flexible spending accounts. The big difference there is that with an HSA, you can leave your funds invested. You can put money into the HSA, invest those funds, and then you can roll them over from year to year. There is no requirement to spend the HSA down to zero every year on medical expenses. With an FSA, there is. There's also contribution limit differences, but that's the big thing is an HSA is meant to be kind of an ongoing investment account, and the FSA is you spend it every year. Now, with HSAs, the reason that I love them so much, that triple tax benefit we were talking about, when you put money into an HSA, you are contributing pre-tax. So it's similar to when you contribute pre-tax to your traditional TSP, not the Roth option, but the traditional option, you make a pre-tax contribution that comes off your income for the year. So you're not taxed on those funds. Lowers your taxable income for the year. And then if the money goes into the HSA, you meet the cash minimum requirement. That money gets invested, you set up an allocation for it, then it can grow year to year. And that growth is also tax-free. You don't have to worry about paying capital gains tax. You don't have to worry about paying income tax on dividends. It just kind of grows tax-free. And that's the second tax benefit. The third triple tax benefit is if you pull those funds out at any time. So that can be while you're working, that can be after retirement. When you pull those funds out, if you use them for qualified medical expenses, and there's a list that's pretty specific, but is pretty wide ranging, that when you pull those funds out, they are also tax-free. So unlike your traditional TSP, where you put the money in pre-tax, when you pull it out, you pay income tax on it. If you pull money out of an HSA, you can put it in tax-free. When you pull it out, if it's for a qualified medical expense, you don't pay any income tax. So if you use this thing right, you never pay income tax on money that flows through that HSA.
Wow.
Now, yeah, huge, huge, huge benefit. That's just kind of a primer for HSAs. Now, you know that we like to keep kind of a balanced approach, right? So we're going to kind of look at pros and cons of your federal HSA benefit. So you can have a percent of your FEHB premium deposited automatically into your HSA. There's no income limit for using HSAs, guys. So this is, it can be a great tax benefit. I believe for 2023, I know for 2023, the limit's $3,850 for single insured, and for family, I think it's $7,200, but that is going up in 2024. So, it's not an insignificant amount of money that you can set aside there. There's no income limit for getting that deduction. you can keep the account open, obviously, after you leave federal service. So this is something you can take with you into retirement, or if you leave federal service and you go private sector, it's portable. A lot of private sector plans also offer HSAs. We have an HSA, for example, here at Serving Those Who Serve. We are in the private sector. We also have an HSA in our plan. So let's say you leave federal service, you take a private sector gig, you can actually roll your HSA into your federal HSA into your private sector HSA if that's something that's offered by your new firm. Spouses can inherit an HSA with no tax consequences whatsoever.
That's nice.
So, yep, if something happens to you, your HSA becomes just like an extension of your spouse's HSA. No tax issues there. We already talked about the tax-free withdrawals for qualified medical expenses. There's one of my favorite websites, hsastore.com. You can go there and everything that they have is qualified and approved. And they have things like sunscreen. It's like I said, it's a specific list, but it's wide ranging.
I love that you know that.
Absolutely. I love hsastore.com. They have some really interesting stuff on there. So those are our pros, right? If you're young and working in federal service, maybe you don't have a lot of healthcare expenses, look into that HSA. Obviously, this is just education. This is not recommendation, but look into the HSA, and it may be worth it to contribute to it and then not touch those funds and just let them grow.
She really likes them.
The number one expense for most people in retirement is healthcare expense. So definitely don't sleep on the HSA. There are some cons, and I want to be fair. In order to have an HSA, you have to have a high deductible healthcare plan. Mm-hmm. High deductible healthcare plan premiums are higher than other plans. They come with high deductibles. It's in the name. Your out-of-pocket costs can be higher. So that's why we don't necessarily recommend an HSA strategy for somebody who has a lot of healthcare expenses, maybe has an ongoing illness where they see a lot of doctors. You do need to kind of build it up over time to get the maximum benefit. There are limits that you can put in every year, and those limits are less than what you can put in, say, like a Roth IRA.
Sure.
So it does kind of take time to build it up. But because it is invested, it does grow. Non-spouse beneficiaries, remember we talked about how spouses can inherit tax-free. Non-spouse beneficiaries, if they inherit, so like if your kid inherits your HSA, they owe taxes on 100% of the value on the year that it's inherited. They cannot stretch it out over 10 years. 100%. They cannot stretch it out over 10 years like they can with a traditional IRA or a traditional TSP.
Wow.
So be very aware of that. If you are somebody who is transitioning into retirement, you need to prioritize spending down that HSA because it is not a great inheritance tool, basically.
Gotcha.
So something to be mindful of. The annual deductible on your high deductible healthcare plan must be met before your benefits can be used. And then funds for non-medical expenses are subject to taxes. So remember, I said it's tax-free if you use it for approved medical expenses. If you use it for not approved medical expenses, you're going to owe taxes on it. Okay. So just something to keep in mind. Don't sleep on HSAs. If you're curious to learn more about it, we've got some articles on the blog about it, or you can always reach out to us to learn more. But I love talking about HSAs. As you can tell, I will be the cause of the ish this week, and I will take that ish because I do love my HSAs, as Dan knows.
No worries. And yes, I get to be the bad guy here and tell everybody that their FEHB premiums are going to be going up by an average increase of 7.7%. Ouch. Sorry to bring that to you. It's better that you hear it in advance. Keep in mind, thanks to something called premium conversion, by and large, you're going to be doing that on a pre-tax basis. If you're working, if you're retired, not so much. So we're sorry to pass that along. However, Uncle is still kicking in 75% for it. So it's a great package for you, but costs have gone up, things are going up. Additionally, the Fed VIP, dental is increasing by 1.4%, vision is increasing by 1.1%. So not quite as extreme, but you do have those coming. Now, Katelyn, there are some changes coming to FEHB, and some of these are kind of nerdy things that I'm going to share. Interestingly enough, Humana is no longer an FEHB. They're dropping out. The number of insurance carriers now sits at 69, which is a pretty good number. The total number of plans, this was interesting to me. Coming into 2024, there were 271 different plans. They are now dropping to 159. So I think there's been some pruning of the plans that aren't being used, which is not a bad thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, some enhanced benefits coming in. So I get to finish with good news. Okay. So weight control medications are going to be in the mix now. Expanded pre and postnatal care, always a good thing. Mental health and substance abuse treatment. And this one's huge, fertility benefits. And I think we're writing on that, right? We're going to be writing on that. We'll be covering it as well. Awesome. And gender affirming care is in as well. So a bunch of enhancements coming in to at least go along with the increase. So nobody likes increases, but if you're getting more stuff, it's a little easier to take. At least I think so. So that's what I got on the FEHB side.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, I mean, the premium increase isn't very cool, but expanding coverage, like you said, makes it a little bit of an easier pill to swallow. But I know, premium increase has been a recurring topic in a couple kind of areas of federal benefits.
Indeed.
That pretty well does this for the day, folks, but you know that we will be back next week to bring you all of the latest updates that you need to make informed decisions about your career and financial well-being as a Fed. And we might even have some Star Wars or Star Trek or sports or horror news.
You never know. You just never know. But hit that subscribe button. That's how you're going to never miss. So whether you're on YouTube or Spotify, never miss an episode. Please remember to share this with your friends and colleagues. We see the numbers going up, 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 up. That is awesome for us.
Absolutely. Yep. We love reaching more and more Feds with the important information you need. For more information on the topics that we covered in today's show and more, of course, always more, you can check out our blog at blog.stwserve.com. While you're there, go ahead and subscribe to our newsletter, The Weekly Serving, to get all of the latest news for Feds delivered straight to your inbox every single week.
Coming right to you. And don't forget our complimentary webinars. We've got a ton of them. Be sure to check out our FEHB webinar on October 27th that will run from 1 until 4. And you asked, we answered. So for our special provisions folks, we've got our second of our special provisions webinars. And this revolves around TSP. And that is on October 31st. Our favorite day. And that will be from 1 to 4 as well.
Awesome. All righty. Well, thank you so much for listening to the Fed15 this week. Thanks for joining us. I'm Katelyn Murray.
And I'm Dan Sipe.
And we will see you next
week.
Bye-bye.